Hey, good morning. I believe we have a little bit left before the afternoon. I wanted to get back into design analysis. Now, we talked a bit about analyzing for sustainability, and we talked a little bit about understanding climate and reducing loads and using free energy and using efficient systems. Now, I do have a screen open here. This is the C22 analysis final lighting drawing. However, it may become different in a minute because we're talking understanding energy modeling. Now, we'll be talking about it in the abstract sense for now, but I want you to really try to wrap your mind around this. There's a north and a south pole, right? And we're on meridians, degrees of longitude and latitude and time. We're talking about units, and kilowatt hours, British thermal units, all those things that go into utilizing energy, producing energy. But understanding energy is a whole other thing. How much energy do you have? Where do you derive your energy from? Where's your source? Is it parasitic? Any of them. I don't gamble. Understanding a building's energy needs is paramount. Now, conceptual massing analysis. Conceptual or massing analysis allows you to analyze the energy consumption of the model directly within Revit. Using this workflow, you analyze mass forms in the model and view energy simulation results with insight. Guiding early-stage architectural decisions such as geometry, orientation, window-to-wall ratio, shading, and materials to reduce energy consumption. Now, we talked about this. We talked about the various endeavors to meet challenges moving forward in the decade ahead. We talked about energy use intensity and energy operational cost estimates, and benchmarking, and interactive key performance indicators, and building factors, and our ability to manipulate key performance factors and compare design options and to drive toward desired energy outcomes. And the ability to report directly into the environment. Now, accessing the software platforms are accessible via subscription. Setting up energy analysis, and before you can run it, you have to set it up. So, before you can run an analysis for either building elements or massing, you need to do a bit of configuration to give your analysis engine some parameters. We're going to use a building that is through schematic design. The building is a university foundation that serves as an office space. You can download the file from the book's companion website, C22 Analysis Start. That's not what I have open. I have C22 Analysis Lighting. But as you'll see, hopefully I'll be able to convey this information so you get a better idea of what these folks do with these tools. Once the file's open, activate the default 3D view, spin the model around a bit, and get it orientated so that it becomes familiar with the design. Because a lot of them, they're so disorientated. So if you have that luxury, then who am I to argue? Spin it around, get it orientated. Spin it off or spin it on. Spin it out of the loop. Spin it in the null. It's your prerogative. Spin it any way you want, but don't tread on me. To begin the configuration of the energy analysis settings, follow these steps. Activate the default 3D view, and in the view control bar, set visual style to shaded. Turn shadows on. And you see the shadows are on. hold that thought. Now, the next step is to establish the correct location of your project. On the Analyze tab, choose the Location tool. This will open the Location, Weather, and Site dialog box. Here you can find your building location in a few ways. On the Location tab, you can either browse the location using the map, or enter the city name and search for the location. In the example that the text provides, they're using Boulder, Colorado. It has a high elevation, thin air, a good example, I guess. It's near the San Andreas Fault, which is helpful. Now, that being said, let me do exactly that. So, on the Analyze tab, you'll see there are a host of tools that we can use to provide this analysis. A location specifies the geographic location for the project. It uses an internet mapping service to visualize the project location by searching on its street address, the longitude and latitude of the project. This project-wide setting is useful for generating shadows, for solar studies, walkthroughs, and rendered images. In the abstract sense. Now, we're down as far as that's concerned. Optimum emergency Wi-Fi is on, but unfortunately, I'm not in an emergency status, so I don't necessarily need to hog any bandwidth. So, at your terminal, I would recommend that you locate the project wherever you want. Eastern Poland, Wapi, locate it wherever you want. Now, on the Analyze tab, click Energy Settings. If you just give me a second, on the Analyze tab, click Settings. Oh, I'm sorry. They may have changed the nomenclature. I believe it's right. Over. No. It could very well be that my eyeballs are not finding the spot. Hold on. On the Analyze tab, click Energy Settings. Energy Settings drive the behavior of the energy model. Well, we know that. We unfortunately may not have energy settings. So energy optimization, energy settings, they upgraded since 2018. At the writing, at the printing of this, it was a bit darker, but now it's graying out as the machine publishes the book with new additions. So you can read between the lines on that. So I'm just going to hit cancel and notice that the energy settings dialog box pops up, and you see it pops up, and when you see this, you'll see that there are some parameters within this dialog box. Now, energy settings drive the behavior of the energy model you will create and allow optional use of additional properties if specified, including materials and thermal spaces. Now, the figure on the screen shows the energy settings dialog box. We're going to work our way down. We're going to coordinate our way down from the top. We're going to work our way down this dialog box, making sure you have the settings correct. You, 2, 3, whoever. If settings are not changed, the defaults will be applied. You'll notice a lot of options in the energy settings dialog box, some of them quite complex. In the energy settings dialog box, change the following values. Revit offers 3 modes for creating the energy model. For all cases, you should use the mode conceptual masses and building elements because it includes more accurate thermal zoning capabilities, and it will use the building type to create the 2030 benchmarking insight. Note that this mode supports masses, building elements, or combinations. A reason to not use this mode would be if you wanted to isolate certain geometries from other components. Ground plane. This should be set to level 1, so that the model assumes contact with the group for heat transfer. Now, speaking of heat transfer, I would like to see this a little rendered. So let me read through this before I talk about heat transfer. The rest of the settings we're going to leave as they are, but let's review them so you understand their impact to the conceptual model. Project phase. This is the analysis will be run against. Keep the default setting of new construction, but if you had multiple phases to your project, you can change how the analysis is run here. It is important to note that if a ladder project phase is selected, properties assigned to a ladder building phase are omitted from the energy analysis. Properties are omitted, just like that. Analytical space resolution and analytical surface resolution. These numbers dictate the tolerances for Revit to resolve the spaces and surfaces within the model. For our uses, keep the default zones at 1'6", 18 inches, and 1 divided by 0 inches, respectively. Perimeter zone. I'm a fat man. Oh man, I gotta lose some weight. But I've got 4 little boys at home. Perimeter zone depth and perimeter zone division. If this setting is enabled, the default zones are automatically defined around the perimeter of the massing form. If you prefer to create your own zones, disable this setting and set the core offset value to 0. Then create more detailed mass forms and use the cut geometry tool to combine overlapping forms. Now, if I close this right now, and I may shut this off. Let's just hold that thought. So far, so good. Nothing to see here. So far, so good. Other options. Let's make sure. Choose the edit button and you'll see the advanced energy settings dialog box. As the dialog box suggests, these are more advanced settings for the energy performance in building systems. You don't have to manipulate many of these settings because you can vary them in Insight. Target percentage glazing. This value sets the assumed amount of glazing as a percentage of the overall wall area. Target sill height. This is the height of the sill for glazing to begin on each floor. Glazing is shaded. Select this box if you intend to design sun shading for the glazing. This does not differentiate by building orientation, so if you check the box, conceptual shading elements will be added to the glazing assumptions on all sides. Shade depth. When the glazing is shaded option is checked, you can assign a depth to any assumed sun shading. Target percentage skylights. Like target percentage glazing, this value assumes an amount of skylighting for your model. Target percentage skylights. Like target percentage glazing, this value assumes an amount of skylighting for your model. Target percentage skylights. Like target percentage glazing, this value assumes an amount of skylighting for your model. Building type. This value sets the type of building use. By default, it is set to office, but there are many different building uses. The building use will help dictate the type of load on the building, assumed number of occupants, and so on. Building operation schedule. How often will your building be occupied? Will it have people in it 24/7? Or will it be operational only during office hours? This can have a large impact on your heating and cooling cycles, but I do know New York City is the city that never sleeps. Now, the HVAC system. Here, you can set a conceptual HVAC system. That could be a 4-pipe system, underfloor air distribution system, or a constant air volume, or variable air volume, or a variety of other HVAC system types. Outdoor air information, if you know any, may have many air exchanges, and you may have to exchange the air, may be required to exchange it. Your option here is either rooms or spaces. If you're working from an architectural model, chances are you are using rooms. If this were an MEP model or you were linking in information from an MEP consultant, you would want to use spaces. For our exercise, leave it set at rooms. We didn't go into spaces that much, and in the additional classes that they provide, what they do is they discuss spaces at length. And we can do that if you like. Only thing is I'm broke. So, again, it takes a bit of cash to perform this in the cabaret. Now, conceptual types dialog box allows you to add the assumed values of building elements for the mass form. Schematic types. The schematic type dialog box allows you to edit the assumed values of the U values for each building system. Here's where you can customize the assumptions for the building type for installation values as shown. So, box is unchecked by default, but checking it will tell Revit to use the thermal properties associated with materials you have in your model. For our analysis, we have no materials assigned, so we'll leave this unchecked. But if you are performing an analysis on a more developed model, this option could give better results. Be aware that you will need to make sure to have thermal properties assigned to each of your materials to get accurate results. Once those values are set, click OK to exit the dialog box. Remember that this type of analysis is based on assumptions only and uses the overall size, location, and orientation of your proposed design. After you start analyzing the results, you can examine different massing configurations with the same construction systems assumptions or varied assumptions on the same massing configuration. Running energy analysis simulations, after you have established some baseline settings and assumptions for energy analysis, it's time to create the energy model. This is the final step before running a simulation. Clicking in the previous sections of your model. This process can take a bit of time. As a warning, Revit will provide you with a dialog box noting that it will not be accessible during the computation time. Click to create the energy in that analytical model to continue. Well, now I'm in the ray trace mode, and it will go as per, and it'll stop. Creating the model view will change the look of your 3D view. It will change the look of it. Okay, now, it's interesting to note that you need to subscribe to this. It's interesting to note you need to subscribe to this. Now, it's just a line of reasoning, and you're not obligated to subscribe to it. But again, if you're experiencing poor customer service, I'm not in the Better Business Bureau. Call now to switch.
Thomas Dalsgaard of the Swedish Chamber Orchestra with
Now,
Johannes variations on a theme.
If you give me a moment,
Here at
what I'd like to do is
QXR down your smart speaker, just say play WQXR.
storming of the Bastille.
Clarinet music by Carl Maria von Weber.
Anyway.
Coming up first, Vivian Gary.
You say you want a revolution, well, you know. Give me a moment. I gotta fumble around the new interface for a second. Just give me a moment. I want to do it. Let me go back. Yeah, I want to do it over here. Right here. Conceptual Mass. Opens a template for creating a conceptual massing model. And we have one here, a template for one. So there's a conceptual mass here. And as with the family editor and the other massing tools, there's absolutely no reason why you can't draw a mass. Now, I'm not going to draw anything circular. I promise. We're not going to Disneyland. I promise. I'm just going to draw a square. Think outside the box. A rectangle. All right. So there's the conceptual mass. Now, let me just file, save. No. Give me a second. Let me open a project. I'm using electrical template, default. I'll try default mechanical. It has an evaporator coil in it. Let's pretend. All right. So let's just do this. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's just do it. Let's do it over here. Load into project and close. Sure. Why not? We'll load into that directory. I create a special directory for this one. Okay. Now Revit has enable the show mass mode, so the newly created mass will be visible. And again, we discussed this with visibility graphic overrides, right? So yeah, it's going to do it for you in this instance, which will save you some time. So let's just let that do its thing. We'll find a spot to place it. So now we have this conceptual mass. Now we can go back to the Analyze tool. We can take a look over here now. We could create a system zone for analytical spaces, except that we have no analytical spaces in this mass. But we could create an energy model, and you'll see that it won't be available to us during the duration. There are no room-bounding elements defined in the current phase. Please check the project information settings and go forward. Oh, well, yeah, it's almost as if it doesn't exist. So what we could do is we could, in essence, create those load-bounding rooms. Create a space or a room from the conceptual mass tool. Right? We could do that. And then we could bring it up to the energy analysis analytical model, up to the cloud. Now, I want to do this in the most efficient way possible, because we're in site soon, and that's going to cost you some credit. So let me just read through this, and I'm going to see if I can maybe explain this without actually having to spend any of my hard-earned beaver pelts. Now, with the energy model created, let's pretend, hypothetically, we could hypothesize. Again, I said this is in the abstract sense, in the abstract sense, but let's hypothetically pretend, hypothesize that we indeed did create this hypothetical model, this hypothetic energy model. Hypothetic energy model we've just created. It exists in our minds. And it's an energy model. Now, energy, currency, financial instruments. You start to make these word associations as you go through this exercise. You'll start to see that creating the model will change the look of your 3D view. The model will take on some transparency tones during the calculation. Don't worry, this is just a visualization for this view. Your building design has not been modified. You'll notice that this step has created a new view called 3D Energy Model in your 3D Views list. And it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal that it did that. It's not a big deal. If we were to maybe close this and take our time, we could always maybe go back in time a little bit, right? Go back in time. We can maybe go back to the letter D. Let's go back to the letter D. The fourth letter of the alphabet. Let's go back to D. I map this to D. Now, let's go to conceptual design. Mass example finished. Mass example format import. Let's format to import now. I'm gonna do this one. Let's use any room bounding objects in this one. Just give it a minute to load. 30 seconds, maybe less. Now, let's come over here a second. Let's use any room bounding objects. Okay, we have 3D view here. Now, here could go to B. So let's just hit the start button here, and let's take a peek. Now, again, it said that creating a model will change the look of your 3D view. The model will take on some transparency during the calculation. Don't worry, this is just a visualization for this view. Your building design has not been modified. You will notice that this step has created a new view called 3D Energy Model, which it hasn't, because we haven't done that because we had no room bounding objects, nor do we have any spaces in that conceptual mass that I created. But again, it's your world. You can create anything you want. Happy, 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 right? So listen, I wouldn't want you to be miserable. So let's go back over to our energy, our location. Again, we could locate the project with an internet mapping service. We have that prerogative. You have that prerogative as a citizen here in the United States. You can use this software any way you would like. You can take all the information you have, you can fly back home to your homeland, and distribute it amongst your friends. You can do all these wonderful things. They'll let you'll have carte blanche to take all this technology with you and utilize it in your countries to provide the same same type of analysis. So that's why, please, I hope that you would take all this with you and bring it home. Take it home. Teach the folks how to use this. So now, as you can see, there's a lot of parameters here that you can set with the location. So I digress. We're located over here. It's it's hot. It's gonna be hot. It's gonna be really hot. Next couple of hours. It's gonna be hot. It's gonna be hot. I can tell you that. It's gonna be hot. So the next step is to run energy simulation. Click the generate button on the Analyze tab. So let's go here and let's find it. Generate button on the Analyze tab. Well, they changed that to create energy model. It used to be called generate. Click the generate button on the Analyze tab. Yeah, well, again, I get emails from India that go to a transformer and their names from India when they go through Gmail spell transformer. Now I'm just letting you know how this works. This is a very funny tool. It's true. It's the Hindu Kush. Mongolian. All right, you are about to create the energy analytical model. This may take considerable time during which Revit will not be accessible. What do you want to do? Well, I got to water the plant for starters, because it's going to dry out like a leaf in a minute. It's going to dry out like a leaf. It's funny. Isn't it funny? Isn't that funny? Put him in a poorhouse. Let's put him in a poorhouse. It'll dry out like a leaf. You know, I was driving through Vegas, all the homeless, underneath the underpasses. Because they were homeless, and they came out there, probably degenerate gamblers, under the underpass, alcoholics, or drug addicts. Doing that, they had to go under the underpass to turn to bacon, sizzling, slaying the dead. You find them, I'm sure. But I'm sure they find them. Krispy Kremes, just lying dead. End of the line, they risked it, they just risked it. I only drove through. Anyway, so you'll see that an analytical space was actually created, and it's kind of pretty. It's cyan. It's a cyan color. I'm partial to cyan, as a matter of fact. When I have flights of fancy, I'm partial to it. I think it's an excellent color. In any event, the energy analytical model may be out of date, and again, it could be updated with all those particular bells and whistles. Now, when you run the initial analysis, you get a potential warning message. This message states that there is some variation in the levels of complexity with the model. If you're performing the analysis on the model that was provided with this chapter content, there are some building elements that are significantly more refined than others, largely based on the of design this model is currently in. The dialog box simply calls your attention to the variety of complexity. If you're unaware of the variation, this is an opportunity to investigate before the analysis run. For this exercise, choose OK to continue now. Process complete. The time required for analysis depends on model size, model complexity, and the simulation server queue. Now, I am not a nuclear engineer, nor am I a nuclear medicine technician. But now we have to start thinking about this in terms of varying degrees of magnitude. Now, you will receive one email when the analysis begins, and you should receive another email when the energy analysis is complete. Like an echo, right? You'll hear it like an echo, as if you were standing on the Grand Canyon, screaming your lungs out. Lord, help me, God, help me. You'll hear a return. You get 2 emails, like a boomerang. Now, when you receive the email stating the analysis is ready for review, you can access it one of 2 ways. You can click the Optimize button within Revit or follow the email link to your Insight simulation project. Using either option will open the Insight 360 tool showing your energy model results. The energy simulation run will be stored in the All Uncategorized folder, since at this stage, All Uncategorized. At this stage, the run has not been associated with a project. Before you review the analysis, let's first create a project. Choose Insights from the menu along the top of the dialog box. This will take you to the main Insight 360 screen and allow you to create a project. Click the plus create insight button, select the model you just ran from the web, and click done. This will effectively put that model run into a folder within Insight 360. So now, Insight 360 is a little different. Well, if you notice, fortunately, we don't have it, right? We don't have Insight 360, but you do. You have it. That's the wonderful thing about it. You actually have Insight 360. I'm giving you an insight, and you have it Insight 360. You have it in Sight 360. That's where it is. It's in Sight 360, right? Wrong or indifferent. It is what it is. It is what it just so happens to be. So we'll pretend, again, hypothetically, that we can indeed do that. But again, connection to the rendering service is unavailable. Either you are not connected to the web or the service is unavailable. Please check your connection and try again. The number you have reached. The number you have reached. The number you have reached. Now, I'm going to fly through this so that you can get a better understanding of plug load efficiency. I'm going to fly through this. There are a lot of cards. There are a lot of cards, but you see, turning back the hands of a clock, and I want you to think of this in terms of turning back the hands of a clock. Now, we could go on about the low triple E, and we can go on and on about the drop in values and the deep bills, and we can go on and on about these services that are provided to you, and go right into the daylight autonomy and the illumination analysis, and discuss the aspects of Lead AP certification. Now, but I want, before you do that, before you go on this quest of education, this quest of learning, this educational assessment that you're going to find yourself on, I want you to think of this in terms of turning back the hands of a clock, cauterization, if you will, of a wound. Let's see, we could look at this in terms of a cell division or fusion splicing or evaporation in the atmosphere of lots of things that hold water. Now, I sometimes object to that fact, but I don't want to go on the record to say that I am enriching anything, because Lord knows I'm poor. I'm with the poor. I'm not rich by any stretch of the means. Nor do I aspire to enrich anything that I don't have. But elementally, I have what I have, my person. On my person is me. On my person is me. Again, I don't have anything, nor would I utilize the term. Oh, two terms. One starts with a P, and one starts with a U. But they, isotopes, right, use that word. I can use earth-doped amplifiers, right? I can use erbium. I can use erbium. I can say earth-doped amplification if I'd like, right? Doping, right? Lots of people dope. In any event, we're talking about energy and drawing. But what if you overdraw? What if you overdraft? If you're pushed to the edge, pushed over the edge, well beyond reprehensible behavior, pushed well beyond community standards, if you're pushed well beyond that, society behaviors, civilization, if you're pushed well beyond the matter at hand. Now, I just so have happened to have been within close proximity to almost imploding from these stressors that I have unfortunately been subject to as I approached the ground and I reached it. I picked myself up, I dusted myself off, and I said, you're more than welcome to follow, and you're more than welcome to choose this course if you'd like. I said in the beginning, this course isn't for the overzealous. This course isn't for those that begrudge an education. This course isn't for those on a cell phone with a stack of 50s driving down Atlantic City gambling on things. This course isn't for the bush leaguers. This course is for professionals. This course is for professionals. This course isn't for those colluding and aspiring to protect themselves from their malicious acts in the past. This course is for those that actually care about folks and not think this is a fucking game.